boys, girls. Welcome to Donnybrook Adventures.
I figured you'd do that.
Yeah. Take tarps off, boy. Let's have Donnybrook. I am very attractive, and with me, as always, that was relieving, is the only man who can pronounce Saskatchewan in Aramaic, Michael Megs.
Correct. We are here at Donington Park, or you know what? I'm good with Donnybrook Park. Frankly, that's
The Donnybrook Park.
That's good.
Tarps off, boys.
I believe this is the first event that we've ever commentated at Donington Park because it's a track not in race room, so that would rule that out. And it's a track that was only recently added to Assetto Corsa Competizione with the British GT download DLC package. And this is the first event we've had here, so there we go. Maybe there's some like R Factor or Assetto Corsa Original recipe races that have been hosted here that ESR is partaking in, but I wasn't involved, so they don't count as far as my egotistical way of looking at the world is in play.
I also was not involved.
So time is cutting down here as Matt Higgs has got the McLaren 570 on pole ahead of Paul Riccobeni in the Chevrolet Corvette. John Archie's in third in the Porsche. KTM's Max Simmons, then Jeff Whitworth in the Ginetta. I bet you have never seen that symbol for a car before, Byron.
Well, he was a wrestler in the 80s and 90s. Marty Ginetta.
Ginetta, not Ginetti.
Marta Ginetta.
Guillermo Martinez, Dominic Turcotte, William Murrah. Murrah's down pretty far in the order there, 8th place. That's a bit weird. Jake Keckley, Trevor Cheney, Diego Alonso, Cliff Hemian, Michael Magus, Logan Ellis, Tony Yimbo, and Ayrton Tobin rounding out the field. It is wet, and that's bad news for Ayrton Tobin because he is in the Maserati, which I actually saw a Maserati for the first time out on the street like yesterday. So bizarre timing here. But the what you doing here, Martin? What are you doing here?
I don't know. I thought I saw a folder with a suspicious title, though, so that's interesting.
It's interesting. But anyways, the point is the Maserati has no traction control and no ABS, which in the wet, gonna be a thing. We'll just say that.
Two points of interest. Ayrton's don't do well in the wet. Maybe too soon for that one. And two, my one of my brother's ex-wives once misheard him and thought he said trash control on one of his cars.
Oh,
so that became kind of a thing for a few weeks.
Interesting. I don't know who's controlling the camera work today, but getting some weird stuff here. Getting some interesting things.
I'm going to go with Martin's all jacked up on caffeine, having his 95th coffee of the
95th
morning.
Cold brew.
I hear he just basically puts a funnel up his nose and pours it directly into his sinuses.
So this is a 40-minute race with one mandatory pit stop for tires. Most people, I imagine, will be taking on fuel as well. There's no punishment to it because the minimum pit time is 30 seconds. So you definitely want to do. And if you're picking up any guitar riffs in the background, that's just my my roommate rocking out and being a little inconsiderate.
Yeah, well, we're going to rock out with our Donnybrook out. I don't know. I just don't know.
He's trying to figure out what he's playing, but I can't quite make it out through the wall.
It's a new experimental metal fusion.
New experimental jazz metal fusion work. Maybe, I don't know.
Hey, almost every single awesome metal drummer is originally started out as a jazz drummer.
True. His girlfriend and my other housemate is a ukulele player, so we could do all kinds of things with that in terms of fusion work.
If you want an entertaining piece of shenanigans, there's a guy on YouTube named Rob Scallon, and he used to do all kinds of ukulele covers, including Slayer. He's covered multiple Slayer songs.
Okay.
Angel of Death! It's great. Recommend.
No worry about this track drying out, for the record. We got rain coming down for the next 30 minutes. It's going to be a wet one. We're going to see wet tires, I think, to the finish. And we'll see what happens.
Is it like rain on your wedding day?
I haven't had a wedding, so I can't really say. No one
Musical reference.
no one has ever been insane enough to even ponder the idea of marriage to me, frankly.
Or abduct you.
That too. I'm a low value abduction target. Let's be real.
Maybe. We gonna kick this pig, or like what's going on here?
We got the clock rolling down there. We're at 39, 38, 37 seconds. So just an extended long prep time that the administrator of the GT4 series has elected to implement. Some people like it. It gives you time to go to the bathroom, get a beverage, etc. So there is
Fair
those
enough.
advantages.
If you're not rocking the 2 Camelback system, then I can't help you. You're just inefficient.
I mean, I agree. I got a Camelback on mine, which, helps me out a great deal. Lets me put in like 2 liters into the back of that thing.
You put the Camelback for fluid intake, and then you need another one for fluid extraction.
I have not gone that far, but I have held it in for like a long time during a race, if we're being quite honest.
It's not healthy. Got to use the two Camelback. It's like the 3 seashells, but it's a little different.
All right, here we go. We're off and rolling towards the start line here. Paul Riccobetti very out of position there in second place. Come on, Paul. Get up there. Get up there. Get that big, beefy monster Camaro up there. There we go. The Camaro is surprisingly not as powerful as you would think in this game. I mean, you look at the size of that car, you think that's a power car, and it's not, which is a bit bizarre. Somebody's quite a ways back there. I'm sure who that is.
Probably Matt Higgs.
No, Higgs is the yellow McLaren. He's in position for a change. Guillermo Martinez is a little bit far back at the start here, but here we go at Donington Park. GT4 World Tour round, I want to say 5. I could be mistaken. As one of the bullet Mercedes, I believe that is William Murrah getting very aggressive there at the start. As side-by-side action at the front between Higgs and Riccobetti. We'll see who takes that one. It is Higgs who takes the lead from Paul Riccobetti and John Archie in the very cool-looking Porsche. I do like that Porsche livery in behind there in the pale blue. Guillermo Martinez in 4th place, followed by Wentworth in the Ginetta, and then Max Simmons in the KTM. This wet definitely plays into the likes of the KTM and the Ginetta's advantage because they're normally cars that lack a little bit of engine performance, but in the wet, not nearly as important because traction is at a premium. William Murrah, though, does dive down the inside and overtakes Max Simmons for 6th place in the background there.
Put him in the wall.
Lackluster defense from Simmons, who is kind of known as a really hard defender, so that's a bit weird. And he may be losing another spot because he's got Dominic Turcotte going around the outside into the chicane. We'll see if that works out. Or if Turcotte is unsuccessful. I'm looking in the background. It looks like Turcotte got the job done in the Mercedes. He looks like he has overtaken the KTM. And William Murrah is looking feisty as well. In fact, more people going through on Simmons. I think Trevor Cheney has now gotten through in the Aston Martin. So Max Simmons is plummeting down the pecking order. He's down to, I think, maybe even 10th place. I think Jake Keckley may have even gotten through at this point. No, he is still ahead of Keckley. So false alarm on that one. As he crosses the line, you can see Simmons dropping down to 9th place in the number 24 KTM. Jeff Wentworth sniffing around the back of Guillermo Martinez in the Porsche.
Here we are. We're getting a Porsche view.
Someone needs to get a big great white shark livery for one of these cars. It's coming. It's coming for you. Closest I can say is there was a time where Jordan, the F1 team, did a shark-themed nose for their car, where it had like big teeth painted on. It's very.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it was yellow though, so not really.
Not totally well thought out. Though.
Yeah, yellow and black were their colors. They did a lot of animal stuff. They did a season where they were the Buzzin' Hornets, where they had hornets on the car. Very interesting. And also a snake-themed car when they were when they had to go to tobacco sponsorship ban tracks because their sponsor was Benson Hedges of tobacco fame. When they went to tracks that had no tobacco sponsorship allowed, their sponsor became Benson Hedges, and it was a snake car. So Higgs still leads from Riccobeni and Archie. A little bit of a queue forming up behind Dominic Turcotte here with Trevor Cheney in the Aston Martin, Max Simmons in the KTM, Jake Keckley also in the mix there, as well as we don't have any gaps on the overall timing chart. I'm a little bit annoyed by that. I think someone fucked up with the overlay.
No, that'd never happen. We're professionals.
I think that is the case. Oh, so we're relying on my recollection things as Cheney goes very wide and lets Max Simmons through. This is a very, very tricky track. It's short. It seems simple looking at it and even driving it, but there's a lot of corners where you can gain a lot of time and a lot of positions to possibly mess up in. So if you're an F1 1990s, like early 90s F1 fan, you might remember this as a famous wet weather drive by Ayrton Senna overtaking 5 cars on 1 lap in the wet at Donington Park when this was the home of the European Grand Prix for some reason. Just seems like a track that really doesn't suit F1, but it was on the calendar for a bit. Jeff Wentworth still running. By the way, bets on how long that stack of tires is going to remain at the chicane. Anyone place your bets in the comments below, because that will probably get hit at some point. Down the inside of Jeff Wentworth goes the Mercedes of William Murrah. Weak in qualifying, but Murrah is looking feisty, looking racy. But Wentworth is trying to hang on in that Ginetta. Down on power, but not so important here today. But there it is. He is through. And John Archie is off in the runoff there. So he'll be dropping from 3rd place down to 6th place or so.
Is it true that Wentworth is worth wenting for?
Yeah, I would say fair.
Wentworth!
So Matt Higgs still leading the way from Riccobeni, but now it is Guillermo Martinez in the final podium position, followed by Murrah and Wentworth. Archie down to 6th. We'll see if he can make a comeback. And we are with 8th place Max Simmons, who has had an interesting race, to say the least. For a while there, it looked like he was going to just keep falling down the order. But now he's moving back up in the world, having re-overtaken Trevor Cheney and very much given him a comfortable gap back to the Mercedes of Jake Keckley. The lack of gap times does mean that I cannot tell you what that gap is, and I am going to poke at the cameraman producer for this gap, because we also don't have pit stop markers, which is problematic, to say the least.
It's fine. There's pit stop, whatever.
Well, there's going to be a pit window that they got to pit in, which should be opening in about 3.5 minutes, I do believe.
Remember, kids, whenever a pit door closes, a pit window opens. What's up with that wacky number 27 away the hell in the back?
That is Michael Magus, who had an off in the early going and picked up some damage, and is just basically cruising to hopefully get into the pit window, get in, fix the shit up, and try and make a late run. As we're bizarrely staying a lot with Max Simmons here. Don't overly know why. There we go. Over the Ginetta of Jeff Wentworth. Started the season in a Mercedes and has swapped into the Ginetta. No car swap penalty to my knowledge in this series. But now running the lone Ginetta livery in the game. It's a fairly nice one, I think.
It's horrible. It's the worst.
Oh, there's worse. There's worse. Trying to see if he can get around William Murrah, who took that spot from him a couple of laps ago. And probably feels the pressure. Oh, Murrah very wide. Not only does Wentworth get through, but John Archie in the Porsche also through. into 4th and 5th place. Murrah slipping back to 6th, where he is battling with his 3D Speed teammate Dominic Turcotte, 2 members of the Mad or Angry Panda team, depending on what name you want to use for them. They call themselves Angry Panda. I call them Mad Panda because that's the sponsor. John Archie, oh, very wide for Wentworth. It's going to let Archie through no problem, and it opens a big door for William Murrah if he wants to go for it. William Murrah does have a history of going for it whenever presented a gap. And unfortunately, John Archie, that's the same place he was off before. So problems there for the Porsche.
You think John refers to his home as the Archie bunker?
Could be. Could be. If not, I'm sure he's going to start. But he falls down to 10th place behind Jake Keckley now. By the way, Magus no longer in last place, having overtaken Ayrton Tobin in the Maserati.
Is that because Ayrton was struck by lightning?
Possibly.
Excellent.
All I know is he was off the track. I don't have the details. Tony Yimbo also dropping quite a ways back, so the field is starting to get a little strung out here as the guys who can deal with the wet are being shown. As another bollard falls to William Murrah as he overtakes Jeff Wentworth. Wondering how many bollards will still be standing at the end of this race, to be honest.
Ball hard. Ball hard.
Dewey Cox needs to think about every moment of his life.
Wasn't that the comedian from the late 90s, early 2000s, Mike Ballhard?
That was Bullard, but I'll take it. There we go! We have gaps! Thank you, producer guy. It took you 10 minutes, but you got it. William Murrah getting back past Jeff Wentworth, or defending against Jeff Wentworth, I should say. And retaining 4th position for the time being. Pit window is open, so we'll see anybody with some early damage probably rushing into the relatively minor pit lane of Donington Park. There you can see it. And Jeff Wentworth is in early. I didn't think he had any damage, but the Ginetta going in early looking for the undercut. Also in is John Archie. Wouldn't be surprised if Archie has some tire problems. We've seen him do a pirouette twice at the same turn. Michael Magus battling with Ayrton Tobin for the right to not be last. These 2 cars are having a rough season. The Maserati, the lack of TC and ABS, and the Audi R8 IMSA performance car just has not been very good. I don't know if it's really just not if it's the driver not really gelling with the car or problems. You can see the bonnet is open, so you can see the hefty damage on the 27 Audi right now.
You think that John Archie is actually Juan Archuleta in disguise?
Ooh. I mean, with Juan Archuletta's recent loss to Sergio Pettis, I don't know if you really want to be Juan Archuleta. Well, I mean, that would add to Archuleta being in disguise, I suppose.
Robots in disguise. Magus fuses all the stuff and puts it in the engine, has his spoiler replaced.
I don't know, the spoiler is going to stay. That's not the problem. They're going to take a big hammer to the bonnet, though.
Do appreciate this fine look at Magus's butthole, but I think people are driving on the track right now, maybe?
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that the camera is elected to stick with the pit stop for this.
There we go. There's an active booty shot.
There we go. Trevor Chaney leading Jake Keckley. Battle for what is 7th place on the track, although both are probably behind Jeff Wentworth. Tobin falling a lap down due to the pit stop. At some point, Matt Higgs will have to come in the Balf Motorsports McLaren. There is the Camaro of Paul Riccobeni behind, so not a lot of great battles going on right now. Things are pretty spread out. Cliff Hemian into the pit lane. I think that's the first time we've actually even said Cliff Hemian's name.
That's the engine thing, right? A Hemian?
That's the Hemi.
Oh, well, is it like... So, but if you're driving one, are you a Hemian?
Interesting note that Ayrton Tobin, we saw him go in the pits and take service, but he's come out and his pit stop remains uncleared. So that's going to be a problem. See if how that resolves itself in the fight with really kind of just fighting with Mike Magus over not being in last place. There you can actually see him behind Matt Higgs in the Maserati. through the chicane. Oh, the tire stack is still there. Someone was asking in practice if the tire stack could damage your car because somebody had hit it and it was right in the middle of the chicane, like right on the driving line that you'd want to use. And we went and tried to find out by moving it to see if it would damage the cars. Reminded me of a time when I was racing with Rochelle, RC. We were just doing some practice for Monza, and I don't know, I'd said something to piss her off. And I come around to Primero Variante, the first chicane, and she had built a wall across the chicane from the little orange off the track for Guillermo Martinez. That's a problem. That'll drop him back out of the podium contention, at least for now. But anyways, there's these little orange do not cross this line markers that are there. They're like pretty big.
No boys allowed.
And she had basically gone over to Primero Variante and had spent the time moving each of them with her car to block the chicane and make me go wide. I looked at the replay later. It was like she actually is moving them like one at a time into position. On board with Tony Yimbo. That is Michael Magus behind him. That is not a battle for position. Magus is down a lap. Yimbo is on the lead lap, at least until he pits. Then we'll see what happens. He's quite a ways behind. I don't have a gap to work with. There we go. 15 seconds behind Logan Ellis in the number 73 car. Yimbo off the track. And Magus will take his lap back for now.
And 5 later.
We'll see if Magus with a theoretically repaired car can do a little bit better here in the second part of the race. As we go on board with Max Simmons as he is battling with Dominic Turcotte. He's up on the back of Turcotte, so he's putting the pressure on. Not sure what that means. That could mean that Turcotte has stressed the wet weather tires. Because, of course, the wet weather tires are prone to overheating in these conditions. Because ACC's thermotransference model is a little bit lacking, in my opinion.
What do you need to put like 52 heat sinks with your PPAC 340s and with the I have no idea.
I got the double ER PPC with the ATM 24s on there. It's overheating like a motherfucker. It needs more heat sinks. Need that triple heat sink, not that double heat sinks yet. Someone was trying to argue with me the other night during Dudes and Mech Warrior for a friend because she doesn't have the time or the setup right now to win the free mech that they got on the list. You do like 15 missions, you get a free Timberwolf. And she wants it, which is fair enough. So I'm trying to get it for her. And I'm running into like these tier 5 pilots as Keckley goes side by side with Martinez. And Martinez barges his way through. A little clumsy, a little bullyish. But Martinez was a guy who was on the podium, so I could see him being quite impatient on this run. Although, what I would have done if I was Martinez is I probably would have just got in the pits after the spin that he had and gotten some free air that way. Yimbo has relapped Michael Magus and is now up to 10th place, having seen the pit stop of Logan Ellis. But anyways, there were some people arguing for like single heat sinks over double heat sinks. It was very, very weird.
I demand that they triple the double heat sinks. Make your weird walkie tank completely out of heat sinks and therefore never overheat.
Oh, rough run there through the chicane by Yimbo. Hangs on to it though. Turcotte and Murrah in the pit lane. So the Mercedes hopefuls all getting in except for Jake Keckley. Diego Alonso goes on for another lap. In the Pro Sport Aston Martin. I am really hoping that we get the GT4 Jaguar into ACC at some point because that is a quality car. I have a soft spot for Jaguars, And the GT3 is unfortunately kind of useless. So if the GT4 could be useful, that would be nice. As Yimbo getting very out of shape. Magus goes to take his lap back. See if this goes. Oh, problems.
Goodbye.
Magus gets ejected from the track.
Put him in the wall. Well,
Whoa!
I mean, it looks like you kind of came out. You better.
Nah.
Left, sir, left.
I was turning left. It was a completely ballistic car at that point. There's no grip on that grass. So that was unfortunate. I will put my hand in the air there. I should have just pulled out of the move. Like, again, it was me getting the lap back. I do believe that Yimbo should have just given me the lap back, given that he was completely out of control a little bit. But at the same time, I'm sticking my nose where it doesn't have to be, as Trevor Cheney hits the pit lane. So Martinez, instead of going for the undercut, appears to be going for an overcut. And we'll see what he can do. By the way, Ayrton Tobin's been in the pits for some time. Hasn't come out in a while. Not sure what's up with that. Keckley and Alonso both into the pit lane as well. So the only people who have not pitted are the top four of Higgs, Riccobeni, Simmons, and Martinez, as well as Tony Yimbo, who will probably move up into 5th place, at least for the time being here.
I don't think Tobin's coming out of his room until all the guests have gone home.
Could be. Could be. Oh, Tobin actually elects to hit the pit lane. Or not Tobin, Yimbo elects to hit the pit lane rather than take a top 5 position temporarily.
Top 6 position in the best 3 drivers in the world.
Mm. I've been having a lot of talk about greatest Formula One driver ever in the real life racing chat on the ESR Discord. So feel
that
free.
Would be Jacques Villeneuve.
Feel free, anyone, if you want to chime in on your thoughts and on a really kind of politically hot topic when it comes to motorsport as to who the greatest F1 driver of all time is. But it is fun to debate it as long as it stays relatively civil.
That sounds boring.
Martinez in the pit lane in his Porsche. Max Simmons, always the king of the long run. I would be surprised if he's not probably the last guy to stay out there. It's basically down to him, Higgs, and Riccobeni. Plenty of time left in the window. Got 9 minutes more. It's a very long pit window, half the race length. So
It's the first half of the last half.
it is the middle half.
Gross.
So what happens in motorsports with the pit window is that it always centers on the middle part of the race length, and then just like, you know, if you have let's say you have a 10-minute pit window, it'll be 5 minutes before the halfway mark, 5 minutes after the halfway mark, and in this case it's a 20 minutes, so 10 and 10 on either side of the halfway point.
I think they should do it in random 5-minute spurts, just to give everybody anxiety. It's like, ding, pit window open, get there fast.
I think the teams would be very displeased by that.
I don't care. I want to, you know.
Race leader is it? Matt Higgs into the pit lane. Well, I think it'd be the professionals who'd be pissed. Paul Riccobeni is going to go around for another lap, so he's going to take the lead for at least a bit. There is Tobin's Maserati. Oh, I think Matt missed his pit stall. Interesting, the pit stalls are not lined up very well because he's on the pit lane divider. It's a bit interesting. Looks like the fine devs at ACC maybe didn't get the pit stalls completely correct on this track. Either that or the British use a really weird idea of like using those yellow lines not as dividers, but rather as stop points. Possibly the case. This whole race has not really come together all that well for John Archie. He's overtaken Trevor Cheney for 9th place, but he looked like a surefire podium finisher, and now he's behind Jake Keckley, Guillermo Martinez, Turcotte, Wentworth, Murrah. possibly Max Simmons. We'll see. Simmons was jousting with Dominic Turcotte before the pit stop, so he'll probably come out somewhere around 6th or 7th place. So we'll see how that plays, unless he ends up doing some bad lap times towards the end of his set. Once again, the Ginetta of Jeff Wentworth out there. He was the earliest pitter. We'll see if... well, I mean, we'll see if his tires kind of fail, but I don't know. I don't know why he went in after just 10 minutes. It was a bit of a weird choice. But we'll see. We'll see if it comes back to bite him, or if it's going to continue just being a non-factor. Because right now, he was in 5th at the time of the pit stop. He's in 5th again, and well, probably 4th place. Pardon me, when Simmons pits, but not much going on there.
Actually, what's going to come back to bite him is the 3 raccoons ahead his pit crew put in the back seat.
Oh, I mean, that would bite him very, very hard. Don't know why, but I just thought of Chibs from Sons of Anarchy going, I have a great eye for casting. That's a Scottish accent. It's really bad. But anyways.
Bro, that's not even an English accent.
I know. It's really... My accents are very bad. We've been through this.
You can't even do a Serbian accent.
I can.
It all comes out bibbidi-boppidi-boopy.
Believe me. Come talk to me after I've been in Serbia for a while. The accent will be pretty thick. It'll be back. It comes back every time I go back to the country. I'll return and people are like, have they replaced you with a clone? No. It'll fade in a couple of weeks. We're watching Jake Keckley come up to the blue flagged car of Michael Magus. So not overly sure what the interest here would be, but we will see some blue flag driving, I guess. I think the problem is that there's just not a lot of battles going on right now. The field's kind of spread out, although, I mean, that being said, William Murrah and Jeff Wentworth are having a good tango for 3rd place. I'd like to, if the camera would stick with that, because they're only 0.8 of a second apart. And John Archie and Diego Alonso are having a little fight. Although, it should be mentioned, last we saw Archie, he was up in 11th or 9th place ahead of Cheney, and has fallen back behind. Okay, it looks like maybe he had an accident with Cheney as Murrah goes wide, and Jeff Wentworth moves back onto the podium in the Ginetta at its home track at Donington Park. Paul Riccobeni's still yet to pit. He's going for a long run to try to overcut Higgs. We'll see if it works. See if we can try and figure out where he is on the track right now. So he's the 147 car. So currently coming up behind the 22 there on the way to the chicane. Where is Matt Higgs? He's near the start. I'm not sure. This is a pretty short pit lane, and I'm thinking maybe Riccobeni has a shot at this, but he's coming up to traffic. So if I were him, I would probably get into the pits before the traffic becomes a problem. Because he's right behind the John Archie, Trevor Cheney, Diego Alonso fight. And maybe doesn't want to get ensconced in that, if at all possible. Because this is not F1 blue flags where you got... There we are! He's in the pits. So we'll see if the 147 car of Paul Riccobeni can come out ahead of the number 20 car of Matt Higgs. Higgs is currently heading on the straightaway towards the chicane. So he'll have the chicane and then the 2 tight hairpins to go before the pit stop is complete by Riccobeni. We will see if the Camaro can beat him out. Meantime, Wentworth pulling away from Murrah, and Murrah losing ground to Max Simmons. So, bit of a bad time here for the Bullet car. So it's a little bit wide there. And Higgs is still not overtaken Riccobeni yet, but he is rounding the final corner. We will see. He's on the start-finish straight. I'd love it if we could get the camera there. But we'll get Trevor Cheney versus John Archie instead. And indeed, not even close. I thought it would be close, but Riccobene is not going to take Matt Higgs on the overcut.
If Simmons is the shortest person in his family, would he in fact become minimum Simmons instead of Max?
Well, Max Simmons is a fake name, but yeah.
Is his real name Marty Jannetty?
It could be. I don't know. I don't know what his real name is. I would not divulge it if I did.
I would.
If people wish to remain anonymous, that's their call. Oh, Trevor Cheney off the track.
I will straight up dox everybody. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
John Archie takes 10th place away from Trevor Cheney, who slides off. No Seth Cheney today, who's been doing quite well in this series. Only one Cheney today. Oh, John Archie off. And Trevor Cheney should go right back past him. John Archie just can't stay on the track today. He's got undoubtable pace, but he's not putting it together at all today. Probably has a podium caliber car. He is not making that Porsche behave. Let's see here. Gap-wise, Max Simmons has caught William Murrah. It's down to 0.8 of a second. And then this is the closest battle on the track that you're looking at right now between John Archie and Trevor Cheney for the last spot in the top 10.
I think instead of time, they should do it by distance.
I mean, that's kind of.
Matt Higgs currently leading Paul Riccobene by 32.5 feet.
That would be interesting. There's William Murrah. Ayrton Tobin's still all lonely in the pit lane. Let's see if anything shapes up into something here. I just double checked. This is round 5, so there's only one round after this, which will be at Spa-Francorchamps in 2 Mondays' time. And that will be the season finale of the first ever GT4 World Tour here in ESR.
And we will crown the first internationally galactic champion of the entire universe.
Championship is still pretty wide open. Without giving any spoilers as to the results of today's race, there are still 6 drivers who could still hoist the title, which is interesting. So, pretty wide open, pretty competitive field, even though it's really kind of been the Matt Higgs, Paul Riccobene show for the last 3 races. Because Higgs and Riccobene finished 1-2 at Suzuka and Kyalami. And Riccobene won Laguna Seca while Higgs took 3rd place. So definitely they're the 2 protagonists in the championship hunt. But there are some other hopefuls that could still be there.
But who's the antagonist?
Or, well, I forgot there are drop scores in this series. Let's see here. Who's still alive? So the magic number be like... Okay, 4. The 5th and 6th place guy. I am sorry, I got your hopes up for a second, but no, you are actually mathematically eliminated.
But I can still win, right?
I mean, you always win.
I am the win.
Higgs leads by 6 seconds, so I don't want to say any lead is safe here because in the wet it's incredibly easy to make a mistake and spin the car. We've seen a number of very talented drivers do that. We've seen John Archie go around. We've seen Martinez go around. We've seen Cheney lead the track. We've seen more or less everyone have a sketchy moment. So things are still definitely developing. But Higgs has, in the dry, what I'd consider a pretty safe lead. Although this is Matt Higgs we're talking about, who I've seen crash out of 2 races in the GT4 or the GT3 Sunday series in the lead, twice crash out. So in the dry. So definitely not. Nothing is safe. Nothing is safe when Matt Higgs is involved. Not even
They
a
release a
formation.
herd of capybaras onto the field, and Matt Higgs is all over the track.
Oh, William Murrah very slow out of the last turn. Might open the door for Max Simmons. That gap looks a lot closer than 0.8 of a second. 0.9 actually. Wow. Okay. I thought that looked closer, but apparently it's almost a full second still.
I wanna drive you like an animal. Oh, no, wrong closer.
Wrong closer. William Murrah in 4th place here. Looked like he was trying to get his 3rd consecutive podium, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen here. But you never know. He's only 3.8 seconds back of Jeff Wentworth. It's wet. Mistakes can happen. But Wentworth has been pretty smooth and effective so far in this race in the Ginetta. Getting to really show off what that car can do. Simmons getting closer. 0.6 at last time zone, at the last time marker. I'd say that looks closer, but, you know, I said that last time going through here, and it turned out to be not remotely correct, so I will save myself from that embarrassment. Let's see where it is. It actually grew again a little bit, up to 0.7.
See if we can grow that lead up to 10 seconds.
That would be a good idea. Riccobene is closing on Higgs. Does have a fresher set of tires, although it shouldn't particularly matter as long as Higgs has been taking care of his wet tires. Turcotte comfortable in 6th place. Martinez comfortable in 7th. And it's Cheney, Archie, Alonso, Hemian, Yimbo, Ellis, and Magus still running.
Running like the wind?
Pretty close, damn close to the wind. And we are talking about like 200 kilometers an hour here.
If you have to slow down, do you brake like the wind?
Yep. And Simmons looking for a way through. Defended by Murrah into the chicane. This is the part of the track where that Mercedes should probably pull from the KTM a little bit. It does have a very beefy motor. Oh, Simmons goes hard and spins Murrah.
Yikes.
And slows down.
Sir?
That is not how this is supposed to work, gentlemen.
Sir, no rubbernecking?
I feel bad for Dominic Turcotte, because Turcotte would have overtaken both of them if not for that bizarre behavior. I hope we see a penalty there. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the gentlemanly intent of Max Simmons to not take advantage of having put Murrah into a spin, but that's why every gentleman's rule has a caveat that you can't interfere with other people's races. Max Simmons, work in progress. I had a lot of talks with him about racecraft, and not gonna lie, sometimes I'm not sure it's getting through.
Well, what you need to do is take his head and stick it directly into the intake of a Studebaker engine, and he'll probably understand.
I feel like James Hunt talking about Jean-Pierre Jarier or Ricardo Patrese, but a James Hunt who had actually tried to help them learn to drive better, as opposed to a James Hunt who had just completely written them off as a waste of time. And disgraces to the sport. Anyways, we pop in with Matt Higgs. He's coming up on Tony Yimbo to put a lap on him. Not really sure why we're checking in. You can see Riccobene in the background, but it's 5.5 seconds. It's been yo-yoing anywhere from about 6.5 down to 4.5, but there doesn't seem to be a constant closing going on right now. Diego Alonso on the tail of John Archie, which feels to a degree like a done deal. Archie's had the pace advantage on Alonso all day, but Archie's also had a couple of spins. By the way, a pretty solid outing for the bronze group with Trevor Cheney and Diego Alonso doing quite well. They've had a very solid campaign in general. A number of bronze drivers have been very impressive through the GT4 series. But he does get closer and closer to John Archie, so Archie maybe being a little ginger right now, maybe not pushing too hard. And it is letting Alonso have a little sniff at that Porsche. Martinez, quite a fair ways behind Turcotte. Not really sure why we're looking back, because he's well clear of the battle we were just looking at between Archie. Oh, Alonso got Archie. We pulled away. We pulled away from that battle at the wrong time, as Alonso does get into 9th place.
I don't know. You get to look at Paul Riccobene right now. Is it really the wrong time to look at? Is it ever the wrong time to look at Paul Riccobene?
It is never the wrong time to look at Paul the Rock and Roller Riccobene. He's got a sim fight coming up. If anyone's interested in that, I think it'll be a good one.
Is he fighting me?
He's fighting a gentleman named Colton Rice, who is a BJJ black belt.
But he's not allowed to wear that to the ring, though.
And has incredibly bad striking defense, so that could be interesting.
How do you turn a black belt into a brown belt? You punch him in the face.
Punch him in the face. I think it'll be an interesting clash of styles. It'll be over quick one way or the other. Either Paul's going to knock him out or Colton's going to get him to the ground and make him cry uncle. There's nothing to base this on, but I like the fact that the sim popped out a guy named Colton Rice. I'm just assuming he's like very posh and very pretentious. Like that name screams it to me. Kind of like there's another fighter on the come up that I might sign in a bit named Tucker Davenport. Very much the same thing. I kind of want to sign him just to feed him to the wolves. Also, the fact that he fights like Colby Covington kind of comes to mind. Doesn't have the MAGA gimmick of Colby Covington to my knowledge, but his fighting style very Colby Covington.
I just expect Colby Covington's next gimmick to be like, oh, I gargle urine, to just kind of, I don't know. It just seems like a thing that he'd be into.
I feel like his gimmick is just not done yet. As Dominic Turcotte under pressure from Guillermo Martinez, I again have to state, this is because Max Simmons stopped on track and held up Turcotte. Guillermo Martinez needs to send him a thank you basket with an array of chocolates and smoked meats.
Correct. Oh, bro, have you seen somebody put together like it was like a bouquet, but for dudes, and it's all roses made out of bacon.
I'm down with this. I am so behind this.
I don't know how they must have wound up the bacon somehow and cooked it so that it came out looking like a rose, and you just put it on the end of whatever they used.
Use asparagus for the stalks?
That'd be dope.
Oh, there you go.
You'd have to serve that fresh. I don't know if that's not something you could just...
I mean, you could chill it.
Yeah, I guess.
I think it'd be okay. As everybody is crossing the finish line for the final time. Archie got Alonso back. So he does get 9th place. Pulled out 3.8 seconds too. So I'm wondering if Archie did that a little bit non-kosher, or if Alonso just had a spin, because that doesn't feel like a normal overtake to me. Cliff Hemian will be the last driver to officially finish the race. He's the number 31 there that is approaching the start-finish line, as Guillermo Martinez has a big spin out. So the final results of the race: Matt Higgs, your winner, from Paul Riccobetti, Jeff Wentworth, William Murrah, Max Simmons, although Simmons might be facing some kind of penalty. Turcotte, Martinez, Cheney, Archie, Alonso, Hemian, Yimbo, Ellis, and Magus, your finishers. Jake Keckley apparently dropped out of the race at some point. Didn't notice that. I apologize to Mr. Keckley. And Ayrton Tobin, also a DNF'd. So let's go over to the overall standings. Matt Higgs, with today's win, moves 3 points clear of Paul Riccobetti heading into the final. He is your championship leader on 354 points to Riccobetti's 351. William Murrah's on 333, and also alive is Dominic Turcotte on 327. Then it is John Archie, Jeff Wentworth, Cliff Hemian, Guillermo Martinez, Tony Yimbo, and Trevor Cheney rounding off. Rounding off. There we go. The top 10.
Was that a trumpet?
That was someone moving a chair, I think.
Sound like a trumpet.
Trevor Cheney is your bronze leader by 15 points over Diego Alonso, Arthur Bellotti, Rick Martel, and Skylar Castor, rounding off the top 10. And in the silver category, it is Cliff Hemian leading the way by 12 points on 264 from Guillermo Martinez on 252, Tony Yimbo, Jake Keckley, and Michael Magus rounding off the top 10. Or top 5, pardon me. There aren't even 10 silver drivers, so you can't even go top 10. It's only 8. Byron, do you have any final thoughts?
It's not premarital sex if you never get married. Follow me for more biblical loopholes.